Essentially, he was saying you either have to have one or the other, meaning you have to have mobility. Goff doesn't have mobility, but if you don't have mobility, then you rely on his arm talent, which he's not. He doesn't have elite arm talent. So he's kind of, we know what Goff is. You protect him. You got a damn good offensive coordinator that trusts him and still instills confidence in him. And then you get him weapons. Things work out. That's great. And by the way, Goff is still better than half the league. I believe he's a top 15 at the very minimum quarterback in the National Football League, which is hard to come by. There's a lot of teams that would take off right now, but that doesn't mean you settle for it. And I think that's why Brad hasn't signed him to an extension yet, which I think is very smart. You haven't committed to something you may regret. He's allowing Goff to kind of, I don't want to say a trial because it's kind of unfair because he's played really well, but this has kind of been a period where he was a throw-in in the package from LA. He was stability at the quarterback position, Broder, but I don't think that, it doesn't mean that Brad won't try and upgrade. You know, is that fair? He'll never, we got Goff, we don't need a quarterback. I still think that's a very possible situation.
Definitely. I think the key is what Jared Goff thinks of himself. And although I have to correct or clarify to Flannel real quick, although I'm a Jared Goff supporter, I tend to say a lot of positive things. I've never advocated for him to get that $45-50 million, not because he hasn't necessarily played not that he doesn't deserve it based on some of the other contracts, but for all the things that I defend him for. Why is it so bad that he needs an offensive line and needs a running back? But so he's got to realize, basically what I'm trying to say is he's got to realize he does need those things around him to be the best version of himself.
Right.
So he can't, just go try to get the bag and expect the league's best offensive line to be built or a top running back room to be there around him or all the best weapons. He's got to realize maybe I'm a $35-40 million. Maybe I am a $45 million guy, but I need to take 37-38 so that we can pay Penei Sewell and Jonah Jackson or Jonah Jackson's replacement or Taylor Decker's replacement. He needs to know that he's at his best in the play action when he gets that time. So he may need to settle for a little bit less.
Well, and for the record, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Jeff.
That's okay.
I want to make it very clear that when I say what I'm saying about Jared Goff, it's not just in a vacuum. It's in the prism of this guy might command a $45 million a year long-term contract. He might command a $50 million a year long-term contract. In the way that he's played in these last 5 games, it's not just 2 bad games. It's I would say 4 bad games and then the Chargers game, but when you count it out as a whole, 7 touchdowns, 8 turnovers are responsible for, and the Lions could have very well been 0-5 in those games. And Jared Goff does get credit for bringing them back against the Bears from the hole that he had a big part in digging. That's all true. That's the prism I'm talking about. I don't think this man will get any better if he takes up more of the team's salary cap and maybe you can't pay another guy. That's more of my point. I'm not saying that Jared Goff is awful or anything like that.